Before starting today's class, I will just revise what we have done very quickly. Hello, can somebody just give me an acknowledgement saying that I'm audible? Am I audible?
Yeah,
Yes.
you're audible, sir.
Okay, yes, thank you so much. What I was telling is, I will just very quickly revise what we have done in yesterday's class, and then I will start with today's class. Yesterday, I told you that why Python is so powerful programming language. Python is an extremely powerful programming language because it is easy to learn, and then second is that it is very versatile. What is the meaning of versatile? The meaning of versatile is that Python can be used in different domains of application development. I told you yesterday there are different domains in which applications are developed. We have commercial products which actually gets installed into your laptop, desktop based applications which is used by small shops, they're used by manufacturing industries. Okay, these are all commercial products. Majority of the times to develop these applications we use programming languages like C#, Java, VB.NET and all that. Then the other domain of programming is web-based application development. In web-based application development, these are the applications that run on the cloud server. Okay, all your websites, your cloud-based ERP systems. These are some of the softwares which are developed on the cloud and they are deployed on the cloud. They run in the browser. One thing to remember is that they run in the browser. Now you don't have to understand and you don't have to worry about how these applications are developed. Okay, anyhow, in this 7th semester, you people will be learning a web programming subject where you will learn all these things. Okay, so don't worry about that. But only thing you remember is that there is one domain of application development where projects are developed on the cloud and they execute on the browser. Okay, now for developing these type of applications, we use programming languages like PHP, we use Java there, of course we can use Python also there, then we have Perl, Ruby, so many programming languages are there. Okay, then comes embedded systems. Embedded systems also are those is that domain in which we develop some sort of a device which does some sort of an automation, help people to do their day-to-day work. We develop robots to perform a particular task and all that. So these require programming the microcontrollers and they require a separate set of programming languages. Okay, here I cannot use a Perl or PHP. Here I have to use embedded C or C programming language or C++ or assembly level programs and so on. So different domains are there of application development which requires different set of programming languages. But Python, remember, Python can be used in all these domains. I can use Python to develop commercial desktop-based applications. I can use Python to develop cloud-based projects. I can use Python to develop embedded systems. I can use Python to do image processing. I can use Python to do artificial intelligence and machine learning. This is the reason why Python is called as a versatile programming language. This point has to be made very clear, very clear. Remember this now. Why Python is so common, so popular? Because it is versatile. It can be used in any domain. Okay. So with that, I told you that it is very versatile. And then I also explained to you people about the different things that we will be studying in this subject. The first module, I told you that, we will be discussing about a few basic things of Python that I will be demonstrating to you people today. Then we will be learning about the different data types available in any programming language. First of all, what is the meaning of a data type? Okay, first is what is the meaning of a data type? I will go to this expressions later on. Okay, the first thing that we have to study is entering expressions into the interactive shell. This I will demonstrate to you directly. What is the meaning of this interactive shell? What is entering expressions? I will explain to this later on. But first, let me directly go into the first part of any programming language. The first thing that anybody will learn in a programming language is the different types of data that the programming language can handle. Different types of data that a programming language can handle. It can handle integers, it can handle floating point numbers, it can handle string, it can handle Boolean. These are the different data types that a programming language can handle. Okay, they are called as data types. Any programming language, whenever you start, you always start with learning the data types. What are these data types? What are these data types? Data types is the different types of data that a programming language can handle. Now, for some people, this is a little difficult to understand. What is the meaning of a programming language can handle this type of data? What is the meaning of this? In short, how I understand this concept is like this. If I am able to declare a variable in a programming language, and if I'm able to put some value into that variable, then that programming language can handle that type of data. Example, if I say X is a variable in a programming language, if X is a variable, you know what is a variable? A variable is something which can store value into it. Okay, a variable is something which can store value into it. If I declare a variable X in any programming language, and if I can store an integer value into that variable, then I know for sure that integers are handled in that programming language. This is how I understand it. Okay, the world understands it in a different way. I need not make it so complicated, but this is how I thought that I should explain it to you people. What is the meaning of a data type? What is the meaning of a programming language handling a data type? Is that if I declare a variable in any programming language, and if I'm able to store a variable, store a value of integer data type into that variable, that programming language can handle integer values. Similarly, if I'm able to declare a variable, and in that variable, if I'm able to store a floating point value, then that programming language can handle floating point data. Similarly, if I can declare a variable in a programming language, and in that variable I can store a string value, then that programming language can handle string data. Similarly, if I can declare a variable in that programming language, and that variable, if I store a Boolean value, then that programming language can handle Boolean data. This is how I see to it. So now remember that in Python, if you are able to store an integer value into a variable, then Python can handle integers. If in Python you can declare a variable and store floating point value into it, then Python can handle floating point values. Similarly, if you can declare a variable in Python and store string value into it, then Python can handle strings. And finally, if I'm able to declare a variable in Python and store a Boolean value, then Python can handle Boolean values. Now we have to understand what is the meaning of an integer value, what is the meaning of a floating point value, what are strings, and what is a Boolean value. I'm sure you know this, okay? We have learned this in mathematics, we have learned this in C programming, but still it is my responsibility that I revise this. What is an integer value? An integer value is something which doesn't have a floating point value. In the sense, it doesn't have a fractional part. It is a whole number. It doesn't have a decimal point in between. Examples of integers are 100, 200, 4, 43, 76. As long as the number doesn't have a fractional part, if there is no decimal point in between it, it is called as a floating point number. It is called as an integer value. It is called an integer value. Okay. Now, what is a floating point value? A floating point value is one in which there is a decimal point. There's a decimal point and the number contains a fractional part. Whatever is after the decimal point is called as a fraction. Yogesh. Okay, what I am telling is floating point values are those values which have a decimal point in between. Okay, it has a fractional part. So 16.66 is a floating point value. 3.14 is a floating point value. 0.0 is a floating point value. Any value which has a floating decimal point in between, it's called as a floating point number. Okay, I'm very quickly telling this because you already know this. Next comes string data. Okay, next comes string data types. What is a string data type? A string data type is something which is always written between double quotes or a single quote. A string can be very big, no problem. I can store hello world in a string. Okay, anything that is enclosed between double quotes or a single quote is called as a string data. Now some questions will be there, how big a string can be? A string can be small as 0 characters in a string, or a string can be very big, containing 100 characters inside it, or 1000 characters inside it, or even 1 million characters inside a string. No problem. You can have any number of values inside the double quotes, inside the string. Okay, so that is a string. And finally, what is a Boolean? A Boolean is something which will have only 2 values, a true or a false. So if I declare a variable x of type Boolean, then what I can store into this x variable, which is of type Boolean, I can store either true or false because it is a variable of Boolean type. So this is about the data types. Okay. Now, going back to understanding what is the meaning of an interactive shell. After I have installed, I hope everybody is able to see my screen. Okay. After I have installed Python in my computer, then how to write the programs and how to execute it, it is all very easy. Okay, I just need to install Python, and installing Python is also very simple. What I will do is I will share with you people a Python, the Python exe file. If you just double click on that and install it into your computers, then Python runtime environment will be installed in your computers. And then after that, whatever I am doing here today, you will also be able to do. Okay, first I will explain to you what is the meaning of an interactive shell. Interactive shell. Python programs can be executed in two different ways. Okay, you can either use the interactive shell or you can store the program and execute it at once. Okay, there are two different ways how you can execute Python programs or Python script. Python programs, Python script, same thing. Okay, don't worry about what is the meaning of Python script. Why is sir saying two different things? Python program, Python script is one and the same. Okay, so I can write Python programs in two different ways. One is by typing the entire program at once, saving it, and then executing it. Okay, so to type my program, I can open Notepad. I can start typing my program here. I can say x is equals to 100 and y is equals to 200, z is equals to x plus y, print z. Simple program, a very, very simple program. I'll just try to increase the font size so that everybody is able to see it properly. Okay, I think now it is clear. Okay, so what I have here is a program, very, very simple program. X is equals to 100, y is equals to 200, z is equals to x plus y, and print z. Our first program, a very simple program. Now, a lot of questions must have come to your mind. You will first ask, sir, you are using x here and you're putting the value 100. Is it not required to declare x as an integer variable? Similarly, I'm declaring y, I'm putting y is equals to 200, which means I'm storing the value 200 into the variable y. Is it not required to declare these x, y, and z variables? Remember, Python is a very flexible and a very dynamically typed programming language. It is not very strict like Java. In Java, if you had written the same program, it would have displayed you an error saying that x is not declared, please declare it first, like that. But in Python, it is not required. In Python, it is not required to declare a variable first, saying that x is an integer. You can directly start using the variable x is equals to 100. Automatically, Python runtime will declare a variable x and it declares it of the type of the first value that is assigned to it. What is the first value that is assigned to x? 100. What is 100? An integer or a floating point number? It is an integer. No decimal point here. It is integer. So x is automatically declared as an integer variable in Python. Simple. This is how Python is written. You need one more variable, simply declare it. Y is equals to 200. So it automatically declares a variable y of type integer and then keep the initial value 200 into it. Similarly, then what you do, you declare a third variable z. You declare a third variable z and then you write x plus y. What is x? X is 100. What is y? Y is 200. So 100 plus 200 is 300 and 300 will be stored into z. And then finally you do print z. So it will print what? The value of z, which is equals to 300. So the program should display you a value 300. So when you execute this program, the program should display you a value 300. That's it. Very simple. This is the simplest program that I thought that I will write today. So what did we learn here? We learned one important thing. It is not required to declare variables in Python. Okay, one thing we studied, very important. In Python, it is not required to declare variables. One more thing we learned here, which is not similar to other programming languages which we have studied. We have studied C++, we have studied Java, we have studied C. All the statements in C or Java or C++, they end with a semicolon. We put semicolons like this in the end. Is it not? But here in Python, they are not required. They're not required. Remember, statements in Python don't end with a semicolon. But even if you want to put semicolons, it is fine, no problem. Okay, it doesn't give you an error. It doesn't give you an error. Even if you want to end them with a semicolon, it does not matter to it. you can end it. If you are used to it, you can end it. Otherwise, normally I prefer not putting a semicolon in the end. Okay, so this is my simple program. So what I have done, I opened Notepad, I typed my program, and now I have to save my program. So I go to File, I click on Save, and I have to save it somewhere. So I go to my computer, I go to C drive, I want to save my program in the C drive. Okay, so I go here, I select all files, and then I want to save this program. I will call this program as test. Then all programming languages, you know, that has got some extension. All programming languages have got an extension. Like for example, if you type a C program, you always save it with extension .c. If you want to save a C++ program, after writing a C++ program, when you want to save it, you save it with extension .cpp. When you save a Java program, you save it with extension .java. Similarly, Python programs should also be stored with an extension .py. Remember, all Python programs should be saved with extension .py. Now remember this, all of you. Please remember this. Do not forget. All Python programs should be saved with extension .py. And where am I saving it? I'm saving it in the C drive. So I will just say, what is the name of the program? Test.py, save. Okay, I save it. Okay. Now the reason, see, it is saying that I require privileges is not held by the client and all that. I'm trying to save to the C drive. C drive is a primary drive. Normally in some computers it will not allow. So I will do one thing. I will go to the D drive. Okay. I will go to the D drive, and in the D drive I will save it. Okay, directly test.py. So I saved it now. I have saved in the D drive. So if I go to my computer, if I go to the D drive, here you will you can see here test.py is there. Test.py file is there. So I've saved it in the D drive. So once I've saved it to the D drive, now I want to execute this program. So I go to command prompt. Okay. So here you can see that there is command prompt, or you can simply type here command, 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 and then you will get this command prompt here. So just click on that. You will see a black screen like this. The command prompt screen comes up. Then to run Python programs, you have to always go to the command prompt, and from here you have to run it. First of all, you have to go to the drive in which you have saved the file. You have saved it in the D drive. So type D and colon, enter. So you go to the D drive. Okay, you type what? D colon, you go to the D drive, and in this drive only you have saved your file. To run the file, you have to type Python, Python, Python. Okay, where is the file present? It is present in the D drive. So that's why I have come there and have typed Python space test.py. What is the name of the file? It is test.py. And then I press on the enter button. When I press on the enter button, there you can see the output. You can see the output 300, because I've written the program like this. X is equals to 100, Y is equals to 200, Z is equals to X plus Y. I print the value of Z. What will happen if I do this as X is equals to 101, Y is equals to 202, and X plus Y will be 303. Is it not? So I'll save this file, save. I go back here and I run the program once again. I type Python space test.py, enter. So you can see the output now is 303. So this is how we type Python programs and we execute Python programs. Very simple. In the first year, you must have studied C programs, how to run it. You type the program, you save it with extension .c, then you go to the command prompt, and there you type a GCC space name of the file, and then after that /a.out, all that you do. No, now in Python we don't do all that. We don't compile the program. We directly run the program by typing Python test.py. We type Python test.py. Why test.py? Because this is the name of the file. Test.py is the name of the file, and then it gets executed. Okay, so this is how I execute Python programs. This is one way of writing Python programs and executing them. This is one way of typing Python programs and executing them. Type the program, save it, come to the command prompt, type python.py, Python test.py. It executes that program. There is another way of executing Python programs. I will show you that now. Okay, so I will exit from here, command prompt, I close my notepad. So this is one way of typing the program. Another way of executing Python programs is by using the interactive shell. Okay, here we are going to learn entering expressions into the interactive. What is this interactive shell? Okay, when you have installed Python in your computer, you can go to the command prompt. Okay, you can simply type command, the same command prompt which I had used now. Okay, go to the command prompt. So it comes like this. And here you type Python, 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 only Python you type, and press on the enter button. When you press on the enter button, Python, it will take you into a command prompt. This is the interactive shell. This is the command prompt where you can directly start typing your Python code. What did I do? I opened command prompt and then simply I type Python, Python. And then I pressed on the enter button. See, it brought me inside this prompt here. You can see this 3 greater than signs. This is the Python prompt. This is the Python's interactive shell prompt. I can type any Python code here. I can type any Python statement here. Only one statement at a time. You cannot type the entire program like how I typed there. No, how many statements it had? 4 statements. X is equals to 100, Y is equals to 200, Z is equals to X plus Y, print Z. 4 statements were there. I cannot type all the 4 statements at once. One at a time I can type. Okay, I will show you. X is equals to 100, enter. So my first statement is recorded already by this command prompt. So now it has declared a variable X of type integer, and then it has stored the value 100 into it. Then I can write Y is equals to 200, enter. So my second statement is also executed. It has declared a variable Y, and then it has initialized it to a variable value of 200. And then I do Z is equals to X plus Y plus 20. Some expression. I don't want to write the same program. In the first program, when I saved it with extension.py, what I had written Z is equals to X plus Y, but this I want to do it a little different. I say Z is equals to X plus Y plus 20. So what will be the value of Z now? It will be 100 plus 200 plus 20. So it will be 320. It will be 320. Enter. So it has even done that. So your Python runtime environment has executed 3 statements already. In the memory, it has reserved X, initialized it to 100. In the memory, it has reserved Y, it has kept 200 into it. In the memory, it has reserved Z, memory for Z, and then in that it has already stored 320. Now simply if I say print into bracket Z, then it will display me the value of Z, that is 320. It will display me 320. So this is the interactive shell. This is where I can type the program immediately, some scripts, and I can execute, and then I can see the output. Okay. So after I have installed Python in my computer, if I want to go to the interactive shell, I have to open command prompt and I have to type Python. Then it takes me inside the interactive command shell. And here I can type one statement at a time, press enter, and then so on, I can execute my entire program. So this way of executing the program is called as executing it in the interactive shell, interactive command prompt of Python. But I don't actually prefer typing programs in the interactive shell. Well, my way of doing it is I go to the notepad, I type my entire program there, and then come to the command prompt and execute it once. Okay, different people have got different ways of doing it. Some people like it doing it on the interactive shell because they want to make sure that the first statement is fine. For example, let us say I close this. I want to come out of this, so I have to press, if I want to come out of this command prompt, this interactive shell, I have to press Control Z, enter. Remember, Control Z and enter to come out. So you can see that I have come back to my command prompt. Okay, from here, if I say exit, then it will close my command prompt. It will close my command prompt. Okay, so if I go to the command prompt, if I want to go back to my shell, so I type Python. Okay, and then here I want to, what I want to do is I want to declare a variable. Okay, so X is equals to 100. Okay, 100. Then I write minus. Okay, which is wrong. This is syntactically wrong. So when I press enter, immediately it will give me an error. It says syntax error, invalid syntax, because X is equals to 100 minus is not a statement. X is equals to 100 minus is syntactically wrong. 100 minus 2, if you write, then it is correct. 100 minus 2 is 98, and 98 will be stored into X. But intentionally, deliberately, what I did was I did an error in the statement. So what is the advantage of the interactive shell is that when you type a first statement, if there is any error in that, it will not do it only. It will tell you that there is a problem, first rectify that, and the remaining part you can type it later on. The advantage of the interactive shell is that If you have 4 lines in the code compared to the advantage of interactive shell, this way of typing the program compared to typing it in Notepad and executing the entire program at once. The advantage of this is that if you have 4 lines in a program, and then when you type the first line, if there is any error, it will tell you then and there so that you can rectify it then and there. If there is a problem in the second line, it displays you then and there. First line was okay, it got executed. Second line, there is a problem, it will say. So that step by step you are rectifying the errors, and then finally you are completing the program. Whereas in the other way of doing it, you have to type the entire program 4 lines, save it with extension .py, come here and then execute it. What happens there is it checks the entire program and then tells you that there are errors in the program. If there is error in the first line, second line, third line, then it will display 3 different errors. So you have to rectify, you have to go back to the program, and then you have to debug the program, you have to rectify the syntax errors, all that you have to do, okay, all that you have to do. So some people like that way of doing it, or some people like this way of doing it. Here it will tell you step by step, there it will tell you at once. Okay, so please remember that in an interactive shell, it will tell you step by step if there is an error after every line, but in other way of doing it is by storing it in a file. If you want to do it, there it will tell you at once only how many errors are there. Okay, so this is the only difference. So you have understood today how to work with the interactive shell. We install Python, then we go to the command prompt and we type Python. After that, it goes into the command prompt, interactive shell here, and then you can type any program here. For example, let us say I type hello world, enter. So you can see that it displays me hello world like this. So any statement of Python you can type here in the interactive shell. Okay, so that's it for today's class. I will again continue tomorrow when I have class. I will continue, and I will first revise whatever I've done in today's class in the next class also, like how I do, and then we can do. Any questions you people have, you can ask me. Hello. Yeah. If you people have any doubts, you can please ask me. If you have any doubts, you can ask me. Have you all understood today's class? So very quickly, I will tell you what I have explained today. I have explained about what is the meaning of data types in Python, what is the meaning of integers, what is the meaning of floating point values, strings, and Boolean. Then after that, I explained to you people what is the interactive shell of Python. I explained to you 2 things, the 2 different ways of writing Python programs. You can type them in Notepad and save it with extension .py and execute the entire program at once by typing Python space name of the file. And the second way of executing Python programs is by going into the Python interactive shell command. By typing Python, it will take you there, and then you can type 1 statement at a time and execute the program. I also told you the advantage of using the interactive shell. Okay, all that. Just comparison, not advantage. Some people might find that easy, writing it in a file and executing it at once, and some people will find this easy. So I just told you about the comparison of the 2. Okay, so that's it for today. Any questions if you have, you can ask me. If there are any questions, you can put it in the chat also. Okay, so I think there are no questions. I will do one thing. I will stop now. Okay, and just like yesterday, I will upload this to YouTube, and then you can go through this video once again if you have missed anything. Okay, so bye bye. Have a nice day, all of you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.